Okay, so the studio wants us to change this script a little bit.
Changes? How?
Well, they want us to change the opening title sequence, maybe add a crawl to give some context. Maybe something like this.
Billy Bishop, wait a second. He was in World War One. I thought this was a World War II movie.
Yeah, but that's Hollywood for you. Nobody cares about authenticity anymore.
Oh. Oh, and they want to change the first sex scene? Well, maybe we can do a close-up of Harrison Ford's hairy arm. That might spice it up a bit.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and they want to change how they meet, too? Any ideas on that?
Well, maybe it could be a little like this. I'm flying out over Saint Leger tonight. Darling, I love you. Please tell me your name.
No, I can't.
Please, please, this could be the last time I ever see you. Please tell me your name.
No, I can't.
Please, please, I'm going to war and I may die at any second. Please, tell me your name.
All right, it's Crumple Bottom Fart Knocker.
Gotta go.
Okay, looks like we got some gold here. Let's call it a day.
All right. Hello and welcome to Random Movie Time. Today's feature is the World War II drama Hanover Street, directed by Peter Hyams and starring Harrison Ford and Lesley-Anne and Christopher Plummer. So this tells the story of a young couple, an American flyboy and a young British nurse who end up falling in love in wartime Britain during World War II. And unfortunately, the girl is already married, and that leads to all sorts of complications. What did you think of this movie, Shannon?
I don't know. There are parts of it I liked, and the parts of it I didn't like. So I would say the parts of it I like are the mission parts and the military parts, and the romance part sucked. So Harrison Ford plays the leading man, and Lesley-Anne plays the leading lady, the one who's married, and her husband is played by Christopher Plummer. Christopher Plummer, her husband, is a British spy, and Lesley-Anne Down, as Tommy said, plays a nurse. And so there's a bombing, like in the beginning of the movie, there's a bombing, and this leads to Harrison's Ford character and Lesley-Anne Down's character meeting. Harrison's Ford character is a flyboy, an American flyboy, and he's stationed there in London. Well, no, he's not stationed in London. He's stationed just outside of London. So he gets, one day off a week and gets to go into London, and so he meets this woman, and they end up having an affair. And it's really 70s. You know how the 70s romances are? They're so over dramatic, melodramatic, and they're so like, whoa. Okay, so one quote I wrote down just to illustrate how 70s and how bad this romance was. So when they had just made love and they're lying in a bed together, and Lesley-Anne Down's character says, "Sometimes when we're together, I feel so close, I don't know where I end and you begin." I don't want to watch a Harlequin romance. The romance is necessary, a necessary part of the plot, because that's kind of like the catalyst for a whole bunch of events that happen. But they could have the romance went on far too long. It could have just been a device, like a little plot device that they inserted to get the rest of the story going. Because to me, the story wasn't really about the romance as much as about Harrison's Ford character doing what he does and going off and doing missions and being, he just happens to have an affair with this woman, and then he just happens to have to go on this spy mission with her husband. And there was a little bit of humor in there. It was a strange movie in that it seemed really incongruous, because the romance bit seemed to be so separate from the rest of it. And the spy story seemed to be separate from the military story. Although in the end they do merge. But the spy story is like, even the spy story and the military story, they have a bit of humor in there, inserted in there as well, even though it's a very serious movie. One thing that really kind of bothered me was the navigator on Harrison Ford's team. He would always be, complaining about how he shouldn't be up in the airplane and he's scared and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. You're bombing, you're going into enemy territory, doing these things. But every time they went up, he had to whine about it. And that really got on my nerves after a while. It was supposed to be, comedic. And that's why they put it in there. But it was really stupid after a while. The first time, maybe, but every time, no. But the navigator was played by Richard Masur, I think is his name. And I've seen him in other things before, and he's really recognizable and really good. He was in The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, which was really, really amazing. And he was in a sitcom. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember what it was, but I'll figure it out. But he was also in a sitcom in the 80s. And he was really funny. He was really good. The whole cast was really good. Really. I mean, despite the weird story, the weird 3 stories in one, the acting was amazing. I mean, it was Christopher Plummer. He was really good. Harrison Ford's playing Harrison Ford. I mean, I have not seen him. He's really good. But I haven't seen him in any roles that are much different from this role. So I don't know if he has much range or not. But he does this well. So yeah, it's really good. Lesley-Anne Down, she's good too. I mean, she's melodramatic, but that's what it calls for. But she is known for, a lot of sappy romantic type stuff. Like she was in The Bold and Beautiful, I think. She was a soap opera actress, and
she was in that horrible Christmas movie we saw.
Oh yes, that's right. She was in the Cinderella Christmas. She played the guy's mom.
Yeah.
Link down to that video below if you want to learn about that one. That was quite fun. But I guess overall, there are a lot of great points about it, and the flying bits, like seeing the planes. That was really well done. I mean, it was 1979. They didn't have CGI, so it was really, really well done. Really well executed. The shots, the battles, the bombings, wow. It was really good for that. I guess my main sticking point with this film is some of the cheesy humor, but more so the romantic story that went on far too long. And I felt really bad for Christopher Plummer. And there weren't any big fights or animosity. Everybody just kind of, Lesley-Anne Down and Harrison Ford realized that it wasn't probably good for them to keep on with the affair, especially Lesley-Anne Down, because it's not like she didn't fall out of love with her husband or anything. She still loved her husband, and they have a little daughter, and they're really good parents. It's just, one of those things. I guess he was an American flyboy, and he was new and exciting. But they could have trimmed that down and it would have been a much better movie. So, yeah, that's my take on it. What about you, Tommy?
Well, yeah, it took a long time, but I did end up liking this movie, sort of. The romance part was definitely the weakest. I could see what Peter Hyams was going for. He was trying to recreate that sort of Casablanca, big World War II romance type of feel. Probably that's the kind of movie that he grew up on, right? But yeah, it didn't work in this context. But towards the end, when we got to the spy stuff, Harrison Ford and Christopher Plummer behind enemy lines in occupied France. I mean, like, who can resist that? It was really good. Then the movie actually became fun. It sort of picked up. I kind of like that sort of movie just for nostalgic reasons, not World War II nostalgia, but 1970s action movie nostalgia. I was like, they don't make movies like that anymore. Yeah. But, so that's why I liked it. And I've always liked Harrison Ford. I do think Harrison Ford can seem kind of one note, the roles he's given or the roles he takes. One where he does a really different kind of role, I thought, was The Mosquito Coast.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, he's playing like a really weird character in that one. But, so I think he does have range, but yeah, they definitely cast him as, the action type, yeah.
And wow, do Christopher Plummer and Harrison Ford ever have such great chemistry? You wouldn't think it, right? Like, they're so different. But wow, they are really great together.
Unfortunately, a lot better than Harrison Ford and Lesley-Anne Down. I mean, Lesley-Anne Down's a great actress. Harrison Ford's a great actor, but for whatever reason, you don't buy that they fall in love instantly.
No chemistry there. Hardly any chemistry there at all.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, Christopher Plummer and Harrison Ford, that was fun. That was a fun part of the story.
Very good.
Peter Hyams usually directs action movies that I like a lot, like he did 2010 and he did Outland. And so I was sort of surprised at how schmaltzy this movie was at the start. But you will get into it. It does grow on you, I think. All right, so how many B-17 bombers do you give this one out of 5?
Okay, I'll be generous. I'll say 3. Because, as I said before, I think really the main point, the main part of it for me was the romance. It really didn't speak to me, and there was very little chemistry between Harrison Ford and Lesley-Anne Down, and it was necessary to be in that film to have it as a plot device to move the rest of the movie forward, but they really could have cut that bit down. Otherwise, the acting was great. The special effects, the stunts was really good. And I agree with you about the spy bit. I loved near the end of the movie when they went on a mission together in France. It was really good. So how many
B-17 bombers?
How many B-17 bombers do you give it, Tommy?
Same thing, 3 out of 5. Yeah. The romance part didn't work, and unfortunately that's supposed to be the main part of this movie, but it does have enough other stuff, enough spy stuff, enough war stuff to be quite interesting, and some really good performances. So yeah, 3 bombers out of 5.
All right.
Guess we'd better get out of here before those Hollywood hacks hit the delete button.
Okay,
we'll see you next time on Random Movie Time.